Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sean's Check-In. To catch up with more videos of my check-in, feel free to go to and follow my professional Facebook page, Sean P. Daughtry, LICSW, or over on YouTube, Sean D. Sean's Little Check-In, or Sean's Check-In. So today I wanted to build upon something else I've discussed already, which is that of the topic of reciprocal relationships, which I spent some time on in a video about a week ago or so. I wanted to elaborate on how to assess for reciprocal relationships occurring in one's life as a degree of life satisfaction that is occurring for you, um, and what to look for when I mean reciprocal relationships. First of all, I wanted to compare transactional relationships and reciprocal relationships and talk about how, of course, they very much overlap, and how one, though, namely reciprocal relationships, does have a significant difference and can lead to, is a part of a degree of life satisfaction. It's a significant factor, is what I'm trying to say, in one's life satisfaction, is how much you are experiencing reciprocal relationships in your life. And it's more quality, that is. So one or two good reciprocal relationships can go a long way for life satisfaction versus several of them. Anyway, in regards to transactional relationships, which you may have heard about, around how some people, most of their relationships are very transactional. What does that mean? Well, literally, transaction is basically the exchange of goods and services, or money, or any combination thereof. So a overt kind of transaction, for example, is when you go into the store and you have a brief interaction with a cashier where you pay for something that you're buying, and then that's the end of the transaction. Um, all relationships, to some extent, are bound to be transactional. Even your close personal relationships, with such as with your spouse, or life partner, or even a good friend, there are transactions that happen over time within those relationships. At home with a spouse, for example, um, each of you do things to maintain the household. Maybe one person cooks more, the other person cleans up more, and it's like a fair transaction there that's happened to maintain the household, and a sense of satisfaction that goes with that. So transactions certainly occur as part of reciprocal relationships. In fact, there's reciprocity happening between transactions if those transactions feel well balanced and fair. What I get at when I talk about reciprocity, though, is the other layer of a satisfying relationship that goes with that, and that is a mutuality of compassion, curiosity, and connectedness that is felt between each party, from that critical mass of compassion felt for the other party and felt for you in return, and curiosity, that is interest, genuine interest in one's welfare and in the other party's welfare, just out of just genuine interest in one's life, not just welfare, but their life. So that those qualities of mutual exchange of compassion, curiosity, and a sense of connectedness that goes with that are the, I would say, the critical qualities of a positive, fully reciprocal relationship that occurs, in addition to the transactional element of a relationship that is there between parties in any relationship. And this, of course, can pertain to whole groups, between groups of people, not just a dyad of two people. It can be within a triangle, like in a household of a family of parents and a child, for example, or any number of other settings, such as in a work setting between groups of people. The wonderful thing is that transactional relationships can and do often turn into something more deeply reciprocal, where a friendship develops, for example, between coworkers, or in the community between someone who frequents a store and starts to make friends with a store worker, or what have you. So the opportunity for reciprocal relationships arise everywhere. They certainly arise in family systems, although not necessarily how we would often like them to be. There's no 100% guarantee that a parent and a child are going to continue to develop a positive, ongoing, reciprocal, deep relationship over time. That certainly may happen and often does, but there's no guarantee of it. So, family systems are a patchwork of much transactional relationship with some mix in there of reciprocal relationships. So a cousin for a person may feel more like a sibling to them, closer, with reciprocity happening than an actual sibling. That's just how it is with the mix of things in a family system in terms of how reciprocity shows up and how it doesn't. It's rather a mix and match. No guarantee of deep reciprocity happening fully for all members within a family system. Even with, when I say family system, and I mean family system in the traditional, conventional sense of blood relations and marriage relations, blood and marriage relations. There are many other kind of family systems to be found through chosen family, such as through deep friendships, where people do consider each other to be family, even though there's no blood relation or relation through marriage. That could be a topic certainly for another time, about family, chosen family versus traditional blood and marriage kinship families systems. So certainly an area of life satisfaction, that can be gauged, is through assessing how much you are engaged on a regular, steady basis of fulfilling reciprocal relationships in the ways I've just defined that term, reciprocity or reciprocal relationship. If you are feeling a lack of it, then your sense of well-being is going to be directly impacted by that. And that impacts your mood and general outlook on life. If there is a sense of lack of connection with others beyond and more than transactional exchanges that happen throughout a day and week. Now, I understand with COVID-19 happening, this pandemic has brought upon a lot of isolation that is continuing to happen for people, although it seems like we are able to branch out and take some chances and get out in the community to some extent, although it's still risky and we're needing to wear masks and such. But there has been some movement in that direction, it seems, and more hope to be felt that we're coming possibly closer to having more and more of a safe way of being connected in person out in the community with others. And that will certainly help with bringing about a sense of experiencing more reciprocal relationships. I myself certainly have taken advantage of engaging with good friends online long distance and renewing these reciprocal relationships I've long had with old friends. And that has been really wonderful. And I think COVID-19 and being isolated at home so much of the time has been very helpful in giving me incentive to pursue these old friendships through connecting online on a regular basis. Now, that doesn't completely replace what is especially powerful with in person connection with friends and family. That is something I'm looking forward to enjoying more of as the days wear on and more people, such as myself, are uh, vaccinated. So I hope I've been helpful here around thinking about life satisfaction and how to measure for that, at least around one domain, and that's with reciprocal relationships and how much you're experiencing that in your life with other people, even if it's just with one or two on a regular basis. Now, some people who are more extroverted need more of that reciprocal relationship contact with other people than others. And then there are those who, for example, are autistic and more higher. I think it goes that way. Higher is really on the spectrum of autism means you're more autistic versus lower. Anyway, had to think about that for a moment. Now, folks higher on the autism spectrum, reciprocal relationships for them feel different than those of us who are not on the spectrum. So that's something to account for too. Those uh, folks tend to have more transactional relationships about the exchange of information, for example, feeling more satisfying, where direct emotional engagement does not feel quite as important because they experience the world differently and relationships differently. But reciprocity ultimately matters too, just as much for autistic folks, even though relationships with others look and feel different for them. So I did want to take that neurodivergent population into account when I was have been talking here about reciprocal relationships. I hope, again, this has been helpful. Thank you for tuning in and look forward to sharing more on future check ins.